Welcome back to my channel. Yes, I did get a little bit of a hairstyle change. Had to chop some off. It was old and dead, not because my hair was falling out. Welcome back. I'm glad you're here. This go around, we're going to talk about month number 2. And let me tell you, ooh, that was a month. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, month number 2. Where do I begin? It was wild. It was a very interesting month. I experienced a whole lot of things throughout that month that I really wasn't expecting, if you will. So after I completed my 4 doses of the 2.5 milligram injections of Zepbound, my doctor decided that because my side effects were minimal, very tolerable, the weight loss had kind of slowed down again my last week and my last 3rd and 4th week on the injection. I still was losing weight, but they felt like I could still go up to the next dose. That very first injection, I felt much more weak and shaky. It was that feeling of uneasiness that I had with the 2.5 milligram around that 3rd week. If you don't know what I'm referencing, go back to the video for my first month, my 1 month review. That'll give you more insight on that. But I felt the same way, just a little more intensified. And it was interesting because on my first week of the 5 milligram, I actually gained 2 pounds. When I look at it, 2 pounds I gained. And I felt worse. So that was interesting to start. Then by the 2nd week, I had lost 3.2 pounds. So I had lost the 2 pounds that I had gained plus 1.2 pounds as well. By the 3rd week, I had lost another 3 pounds. And then comes the 4th week, the 4th dose of my 5 milligram injection. It was pure hell. It was atrocious. It was one of the worst experiences I have had in a very long time in my life. I got so incredibly sick. So on the 3rd dose, I noticed that I was really feeling that more anxious feeling, like my blood sugar was low, but it wasn't low. I was checking it. I have reactive hypoglycemia naturally. So prior to even starting the injection, if I consumed a meal high in simple carbohydrates, even if I consumed a meal high in complex carbs, if it was in the morning, my body would overcompensate with insulin. So I would produce too much and my blood sugars would come crashing down. So I was used to the feeling of my blood sugar being low because I had experienced it in my life on more than one occasion. It's a terrible feeling. And I was feeling that way. But when I was checking my blood sugar, it wasn't reading low. And so I didn't understand the feeling. I do think in hindsight, looking back, I still wasn't drinking enough. So while I aim to hit those 80 ounces of water at a very minimum, I must reiterate that at a minimum, I aim to hit that 80 ounces. I wasn't hitting it. I got lax, I got comfortable, lazy, and just stopped tracking, which is huge. Track your full water. You forget what you take and you don't take. Track your food so you can make sure you're getting your protein. My little pro tip there. But I wasn't drinking enough fluid. I was feeling miserable. And so I really feel like that had a part in it. And then on that 4th injection, I was feeling so miserable. I couldn't eat. I was very nauseated. Instead of having constipation, I now was experiencing diarrhea, and it was bad. After that 4th injection, I was in the bathroom all night long. I wasn't throwing up. I felt like I was going to throw up. In fact, I felt like it so much I wanted to throw up. Couldn't, but I had diarrhea really bad. And I had the same experience on week 3, but I thought perhaps I had gotten a bug. Working in healthcare, you're around all sorts of bugs. Coming into April, a lot of the flu, COVID, there was a lot of norovirus, lots going around. And so I thought perhaps I had a bug week 3, but week 4, then I knew, okay, this was the injection. However, I will say this too. when I look back on it, I wasn't eating right, drinking right, doing all the things I should have been doing that I told you to do in the last video that I myself didn't do this go around. So after that 4th injection, when I was miserable, I stopped taking the shot. I said, no more. I'm done. I'm not doing this clinical trial. These medications just aren't for me. And so I stopped taking it and decided to not participate in the clinical trial. However, after about a week or two, and I watched my weight start to creep back up. In fact, I gained, I think 5 or 6 pounds. The way it worked out for my, the month from April 15th to May 15th, I only ended up losing about 6 pounds. It's a loss. It's not a gain. So I'll take it. But because I ended up losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, it just did not, didn't work the way I wanted it to. But after about 2 weeks, well, it was about a little over a week, I was really starting to realize, like, okay, what did I do to contribute to this? Perhaps it wasn't just the medication that caused this issue with me. And so I looked back on the things I did, and I stopped to realize that I didn't eat the best. I had pizza, and pizza's full of grease, and anybody who takes these medications knows or should know, if they don't already, that eating high fatty foods or high carbohydrate foods can really have an adverse reaction. Your body, with these medications, slows its gastric emptying. So things sit in your stomach a little longer and cause that nausea and some other adverse reactions. So I realized all of those things. And so I spoke with my provider and I said, listen, I hadn't taken my injection. I really want to get back on this. I know there are benefits to it. I explained everything. We came up with a plan on how we could work for me, and we moved forward. She did decide that she was going to start me back on the 5 milligram dose. I wasn't sure if that was something we should do. I thought perhaps maybe the 2.5 milligram dose would be best because I had been without it at this point 2 weeks now, but she felt 5 milligrams would be fine. And so I did. I got the medication. I started the 5 milligram injection again, and it made me really sick. I think because I hadn't had it for 2 weeks, going back to that 5 milligram dose just wasn't good for me. I am very sensitive to medications. So again, I secluded myself. I backed up and I said, nope, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. This is twice now. It's just not for me. And then I did work, and I had lost some weight on my own without the shot, but then it slowly started to creep back up, and I started to go back into my old ways. And I really thought, you know, I kind of think I need this to really help me get on track. And so I talked with my provider and I said, is it possible that I can go back to the 2.5 milligram? I seem to do much better with that. And my provider presented it before the team, and I really didn't think they would do this. So now I had gone another 2 weeks. So after my 4 weeks of 5 milligrams, 2 weeks without a dose, a 5 milligram dose, and then 2 weeks without a dose again. And they brought it before the team, and the team said, you know, each individual person is different, and how they respond to these medications is different. And they worked with me, and I was so thankful that they agreed to bring me back down to the 2.5 milligrams to see how I do. And I said, okay, good. Thank you for hearing me. Thanks for listening to me. They also gave me medications to help with nausea. They gave me that a while back though. So I was prepared, a little more prepared. I really decided I was going to fine tune what I was eating while I was on these injections and really stay cognizant of those types of things. So they gave me the medication. I gave my first dose of the 2.5 milligrams. And let me tell you, I had none, nada, zilch, nothing, no side effects whatsoever. I felt so good. And I experienced weight loss. That'll be on my next video because that'll start my 3rd month journey. And I'll go into all the details on that. But I felt great. I felt like I hadn't even taken the injection aside from the food noise. They talk about food noise is a very real thing. And it had kind of shut off. And it wasn't, the medication at this point wasn't overwhelming. It just gave me that tiny bit of support that I needed to really stick to a healthy way of eating. And I felt great and I did really good. So that was my 2nd month experience. And with that, I only ended up, because of the ups and downs and taking the medication, not taking the medication, from the 15th of April to the 15th of May, it was a 6-pound weight loss thereabout. But it wasn't a gain, and I'm thankful for that. So with that, I'm going to get ready to start the next video here shortly, over a couple of weeks, somewhere around there. I will get that next video out on how the 3 months went. I'm still waiting to finish up that 3rd month, and so I will give you all of that information on the next video. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming alongside of me. If you have any questions, concerns, you want to reach out, you just want to chat about the clinical trial, feel free to leave comments below. I'll be checking those. I'd really like to continue this journey alongside all of you and just keep everybody in the know on how this goes. The key takeaway from this video would be, if you're experiencing side effects that you don't like, reach out to your providers. If they aren't willing to help you, reach out to another provider. Obviously, if you're having medical emergency reactions, I am not telling you by any way to consider taking the medication again. But for those of us that are experiencing uncomfortable situations or going up in dose doesn't work for us, keeping that contact with your provider is crucial. And I wish I had done that in the beginning. And I'm so thankful that I finally did. I really learned my lesson. They make it easy. I could text, I could call, I could email, all of those things. So they really make it easy for us. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're reaching out and talking with your provider and seeing if they'll work with you. So with that being said, I will see you on the next video, and we'll talk about month 3 or whatever I have next for the next video, but I will have a month 3 update coming shortly. See you soon.